Welcome back to Morning Express for the second leg of conversations on the program. Dr. Steve Obochi Okwori is joining us here in the studio. You might want to note that Dr. Steve is a security and crime management strategist as well as a fellow Nigerian Army Resource Center. A very good morning to you, Dr. Steve. Thank you for joining us on Morning Express.
Yeah, good morning.
It's wonderful to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you.
However, I wouldn't say it's a wonderful day for the majority of Nigerians in Plateau State and Benue State that have had their own fair share of recent killings by purported non-state actors in recent times. What do you make of the development coming in from both states that coincidentally share borders?
Yeah, first of all, I want to start by saying that my heart goes to the families of victims that were massacred.
Yeah.
You know, the act is barbaric, and I just keep imagining fellow human beings who go all out and see people, children, women, men killed in that manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the act is condemnable. As a professional in the field of security, I condemn it, and I expect more from the government and also from the communities that were attacked. Now, let me say that crime is inevitable.
Yeah.
A society without crime is impossible. What that means is that if the government are putting certain laws or rules in place, certain Nigerians will have collective sentiments, yeah? Shared values and moral belief to go in line with what the government is trying to do when it has to do with security. But there are some other Nigerians that, will, of course, are deviant. They will deviate from what the government is saying. This is what is expected of citizens to do.
Yeah.
Now, a society without crime is abnormal, just the way I said. And for us to establish a utopian society is impossible, right? So now what the government needs to do is to see that they try to their very best to decrease the rate of crime. Now the question is the government, both at the federal, state and local government, are they making that concerted effort to see that the rate of crime is reduced? That's the question. Now, going forward, looking at the issues in Benue, for instance, we have a governor that is there, that is the chief security officer of the state.
Yeah.
Now, when I begin to hear reasons coming from governors that they are not chief security officer of their states, that they cannot give the commissioner of police order and all that, I begin to wonder, because when they were campaigning for the office, they had, as part of their reasons why they were aspiring for the office, security.
Yeah.
They went all around campaigning and telling the citizens of the state that they will provide security and XYZ. Now you are saddled with the responsibility, and you are coming to tell citizens, give them excuse that you cannot command a commissioner of police in your state because the commissioner of police is the federal police, you know. Now, and this same governor has powers to call for state security meeting.
Yes.
Where the commissioner of police will be there, either a GOC or a brigade commander will be there, and other heads of security agencies within the state. They usually have these meetings, right? So I don't see that excuse they try to paint or give to the people, you know, in defense that they are not chief security officer of their states. Now, we have a governor in Benue that doesn't believe that the other side or another tribe has what it takes to contribute in combating the insecurity issues in Benue. Why am I saying this? We have a governor in Benue that the special advisor to the governor on security is a thief man. You have the special advisor on internal security to the governor, also a thief man. You have the DG, Bureau for Homeland defense,
Yes.
homeland security. He established that a thief man, you have the state commander of the Benue Protection Volunteer Guards. That's the security outfit that the state governor established.
Yes.
A thief man. You have the special advisor to the governor on local government affairs that has the powers or within his office to make funds available for security at the local, level.
Also a thief man.
Also a thief man.
Now, why has the governor decided to be partisan in that manner, having only people of a certain ethnicity within Benue State championing or manning key security positions in the state?
And that is why I think the governor is the one that can answer such a question. But the point here is that when we have reduced security to that level, when you begin to make appointments based on tribe or ethnic background or on religion and all that, then that is where we're missing it. And I've said it times without number that security in tackling it is security issues.
Yes.
The wrongest thing to do is to bring in politics into it, right? And that's what they are doing. Now, the issues that is confronting us in Nigeria today, the insecurity issues, like banditry, started in this democracy, this Fourth Republic. Terrorism started in this Fourth Republic. Kidnapping for ransom started in this Fourth Republic. So, before now, how were we tackling the issues? We were tackling the issues because when the military were there, they were carrying out their duties or jobs or responsibility, appointing people based on professionalism, based on what they know. They were not looking at it based on where you come from, right? But the current democracy that we practice, we have allowed it, to destroy us more, rather than seeing dividends of democracy.
Yeah.
The essence why people go out to vote for leaders of their choice or leaders imposed on them, we're not seeing those benefits, right? And for me, if we want to get it right, we should have a situation, whatever we do is devoid of politics, especially when it has to do with combating insecurity in our state.
Well, before we get back to Benue State, which is the state that has had the most freshest of these attacks where scores of people were killed, let's get back to Plateau State.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, we saw, an attack in the Basa local government area of the state that claimed the lives of over 50 people. A mass burial was held. We saw videos, very gory videos, children, women, men, old and young, all killed, slaughtered in very inhumane and very disturbing manner. The presidency came out to give a stern warning to Governor Caleb Mutfwang, saying that he should address the security situation in his state. Governor Caleb Mutfwang might be the chief security officer of the state, but he doesn't control the army or the military in general, and he doesn't control the police.
Yeah.
How do we balance this?
Now, when we talk about the fighting insecurity,
Yes.
it's a primary responsibility of government.
Yeah.
It's contained in our constitution. Now, when fighting or combating insecurity, it is not for the federal government alone. I've said it before now.
Yeah.
The state government also have roles to play, and also the local government. So if the president is talking to the governor that this is what I expect you to do, it's not out of place, because the governor also, I've said it here, went campaigning for the office, and the office comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
One of the responsibilities is security and welfare for the citizens of the state.
Correct.
So the governor also has responsibilities or roles to play in the fight against insecurity that Plateau is experiencing.
Yeah.
Now, most of the issues in the Plateau does not need a kinetic approach, right?
What does it need?
There are other ways that they can handle the issues. Like if you look at the history of what is happening in the Plateau, it has to do with land ownership and grazing rights, you understand? And as a result of population explosion, there's this agricultural expansion, because the more population grows, the more the people that come from this community is a farming community. They want to also expand their agricultural
farmlands.
Exactly. So in doing that, climate change is also playing a role in it, in the issues, right? The header needs also the same land to graze his cattle, right? So, but before now, they were living in a very cordial and peaceful community.
Where the farmer had his farms, and then the cattle herders had their grazing routes that were not disturbed.
Yeah, exactly. But with the population explosion that I've said, a lot has happened. Farming activities have increased. So these farming activities had distorted the grazing route, right? And building of houses as well has also affected the grazing route. So when these herders try to find their way when they are grazing, they meet these obstructions or obstacles. And the next thing you see them going into farmlands. Now, how were they living before? I expect that the governor should go to the history of these communities. How were they living? Because we're talking about relationship here. What has gone bad? How did it go bad? When you look at it at that level, historically, you begin to look at the reality or the experience that you have gathered from when they were living in peace and what has now made it that they are not living in peace anymore.
Yes.
From that experience and the current realities that is stirring them or stirring the governor, you should be able to come up with a solution to it. Now, we keep hearing speculations. These people are terrorists, these people are bandits, these people are
Fulani headsmen.
Fulani headsmen, these people are Fulani terrorists and all that. Who are these people? We must be very sure. And we expect that an investigation, a proper investigation, is supposed to be carried out. When you carry out an investigation, it will now unravel what you are trying to look for. That's the essence of investigation. Once you do that, then you begin to look out for the solution because you have been able to establish the reason why these people are fighting. The people that are coming to kill, where are they coming from? We don't even know where they are coming from.
Yes.
Right? By the time you establish where they are coming from, in the event where 1 or 2 or 3 of them is either arrested or killed, then we begin to know, do they look like foreigners? Are they Nigerians? All these things, we're in the dark. We need to see how to clearly establish where these people are coming from. They just come, kill people in that number, and they will go scot-free. None of them is arrested. The perpetrators of this insecurity in 2023, it happened in 2023, where over about 100 persons were killed. What happened to the perpetrators? Were they arrested?
And if they were arrested, were they prosecuted?
That's the thing. Nigerians need to know, because there's no punishment. People commit, because do you know when people are not punished for wrongs that they do, it emboldens them.
Dr. Steve, beyond just getting to the root cause of the matter, beyond a non-kinetic approach like you called it, the governor had placed a state of emergency on the state at the moment now, of course, on security on the state. And he had banned the use of motorcycles from, I think, 6 a.m., before 6 a.m. and after 7 p.m. in all parts of the state. And he has also banned night grazing, which is mostly the period during which some of these attacks happen. And it has been confirmed by survivors of these attacks in Plateau, before we even get back to Benue, in Plateau, that the perpetrators of these attacks are herdsmen who infiltrate their farmlands. And if there is some sort of confrontation, the attacks happen. And much recently, the attacks have become too emboldened to the point where they don't even need to infiltrate farmlands or take their crops into people's farms to damage the crops. They just come in the dead of the night and carry out these dastardly attacks on individuals and killing scores of people.
Yes.
There is already an identity placed on the perpetrators of this attack. Why are actions not being taken towards that?
Actions can be taken if they are arrested. The last attack in Bokos, before the Basa, did you see anywhere where the law enforcement...
Who says that if these individuals do not graze at night, they cannot attack during the day?
See, the issue for me is beyond grazing, right? And that's the way I said. We must clearly establish why we're having these issues.
Yes.
And in discovering why we're having these issues, then we begin to look out for solutions to it. Now, an average herder grazes his cattle. Is it that he comes or he keeps his cattle somewhere, come, kill, then go back, take these cattle and run away? You understand? So, that's the way I said, we're in the dark when it has to do with this.
The dynamics are just unclear.
Now, the governor, as I said, must be able to establish this. Now, in looking out for solutions to these issues, these crimes or violent attacks happen in our very rural communities.
Yes.
And of course, you are aware that these communities lack security presence.
True.
When you go there, you don't see police. Now, how do we now close the gap in the event where we don't see police? Two things comes to play. The governors of states should allow local government to function. These rural communities are found within our local government, the third tier of government.
Yes.
And the local government are not functioning. They don't have enough resources to function. When the governor calls for security meetings at the state, a local government chairman should be able to call for security meetings at the local government level, where traditional rulers, clan heads, and all that.
And at the moment, they are not saddled with that responsibility?
You need resources. How much goes to the local government? You need resources to function. Now, when you call for such meeting, these critical stakeholders, the DPO at that local government, the head of DSS, the civil defense and all that, they are also working at the local government.
Yes.
Then this structure that is before, organization that is before the president, the Nigerian Forest Security Service,
yes,
that has the capacity and the responsibility to provide security for our forest. And they can also expand the scope of the Nigerian Forest Security Service to the point where they can also provide security within our local communities where these marauders come to confront or kill our innocent people.
And then probably run back to.
Exactly. So these people can form that security structure, yeah, at the local government level where they will be interfacing with the local government chairman, right? But the resources that is supposed to go straight to the local government doesn't go to the local government. Even when the Supreme Court gave a judgment that resources should go straight to the local government, there are still ways that the governors are finding their way around tampering with the resources. So we must allow the third tier of government to function. Now, some of these communities where these things happen, there are no access roads. In the event where police are coming and all that, they are confronted with the bad state of roads.
The only way to probably get in and out of those communities is on motorcycles.
On motorcycle. So if a local government chairman gets these resources that is duly meant for him or her to work with, they can also grade these rural roads, make them accessible. This is not beyond what the local government can do.
For quick response.
For quick response. But governors have deliberately hindered the functioning of that third tier
local government council.
Exactly, it is wrong, right? And I think the federal government should also look at that. Then the Nigerian Forest Security Service, as I said, the president needs to and urgently assent to that bill establishing it, because this is an organization that is well structured. They are rooted and grounded when it has to do with rural security.
Yes.
They can stand in a gap, for our conventional security agencies. In the event where they confront these criminal elements, right? In the event when they need backup,
yes,
they're already confronting these criminal elements before yes, they will now call for backup. But right now, our communities are just prone to these attacks. People just come, kill people, and go away. It is not acceptable. So Nigerians are tired of this condemnation from our leaders. They keep telling us that the perpetrators we brought to book, they are on top of it. We need action,
Now, this is also mirroring a statement by the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, who had said that it is not just enough for the federal government to condemn these killings, but proactive steps and measures need to be taken to ensure a forestalling of the killings and also to put to a full stop the wanton and senseless killings in different parts of the country. What do you make of this statement? Do you side with the Sultan on this particular matter? Because it appears that anytime there's a killing, the most the presidency or the government can do is to condemn it and send out condolences.
Absolutely. We have been experiencing this killing, just the way I said, in this Fourth Republic.
Yeah.
Obasanjo, for 8 years, condemned.
Condemning killings.
Yaradua came, also condemned.
Yes.
Goodluck came, condemned.
Buhari
came for 8 years, condemned. Today we have President Tinubu also condemning.
Killings.
For how long will we keep condemning? You condemn, lives are lost, lives are not brought back, and they keep killing people, and we keep condemning. I think that there's a lot that the government needs to do. Punishment. How well are perpetrators punished? How well are they caught? We don't hear these stories. So now one serves as deterrent. When these people have intention to go into
when they know that this is the repercussion or implication of this act that we are about to carry out.
Absolutely. There is no punishment. You see, I think there's need for us to see how to reform our laws. The Law Reform Commission is there. We have obsolete laws contained in the law reform in our laws. There's need for us to revisit our laws so that severe punishment is contained in our laws. Perpetrators of these criminal acts must face the law, and the punishment must be severe so that it can serve as deterrent. We shouldn't have a situation where repentant Boko Haram fighters are seen to be forgiven and reintegrated back into their society. And we shouldn't find ourselves in that kind of situation. Punishment is what we need now, because people are not punished. Even the criminals themselves and people that find themselves in one office or the other that are supposed to perform certain responsibilities or duties to see that Nigerians are protected and the state is secured, they are failing. If they fail, you should show them the way out. You don't just keep keeping them because you want to keep them because you are looking at the next election, at the detriment of lives of Nigerians being killed like that. When people fail in their responsibilities of protecting citizens of the country, and you swore by the Constitution, and the Constitution stated it clearly in Section 14(2)(b) that their primary responsibility is to protect
lives and property of Nigerians.
And you're not doing that, and you want to play politics with it, both at the federal and the state, it is not acceptable.
Dr. Steve, I want you to react to a statement, a video that had gone viral of the DSS boss giving a speech where he somehow indirectly told Nigerians to protect themselves against any form of vices, any form of attacks by either bandits or insurgents or whatever it is.
Yes.
He had given an example of, visiting a friend of his in the U.S., and there was a siren blaring outside, and the friend brought out a gun and kept it on the table. And he asked the friend, "What is this gun for?" And the friend said, "Well, if there's a siren, there's probably someone being chased. And if the person runs into his house, he's going to shoot the person dead."
Yeah.
And that we should be looking towards that in Nigeria. How do you react to this?
Now, before the DSS, I watched him.
Okay.
Before he made that statement, or while making the statement, he said it's not possible for Nigeria or as a country to have presence of security agents
in all areas, all at the same time.
At the same time. So therefore, this is what he was bringing on board, his suggestion. Yeah, in as much as that suggestion makes sense, but for me, I don't want to buy into that. Do you know why? We are already being confronted with the challenge of proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the hands of non-state actors.
Yes.
As we speak, we have well over 6 million arms in the hands of non-state actors.
Yes.
So by the time you begin to ask communities to arm themselves to protect their communities, you don't know the intention or the mind of that person in that community that's already bearing an arm, he might think the other way. But beyond that, who now monitors such communities that are bearing these arms? Who monitors them? Is it the police that will monitor them? Who coordinates? These are the issues.
Yeah.
You know, so we shouldn't just make it a blanket thing where any community will just carry arms and begin to see how to bear these arms to protect their communities. But in doing this, just the way I said, if we have this organization in place, the Nigerian Forest Security Service, and they are now signed into law, it has become part of the security architecture of the country. Now, this set of officers under the Nigerian Forest Security Service can bear these arms, right? Because they live in their community, they come from their very rural communities where they are there to provide security. They are used to their environment. They know the topography of their community.
Their communities, yeah.
Now, if a stranger comes into that community, they'll be able to establish that a stranger has come into the community. And in the event where a stranger commits these acts of criminality, and the stranger is trying to find his or her way, of course, you know that the members of the Nigerian Forest Security Service, since they are more familiar with their community,
they know how to nab the person.
They know how to nab the person. In the event where such a person is arrested, then an investigation can unravel the intention of the person, or where the person is coming from, as an individual or group of people. So, to stand in that suggestion that the DSSDG made, I think that the Nigerian Forest Security Service, since they are local, they are made up of former police officers, soldiers, other paramilitary organizations, community leaders, you know, chiefs within their community. They are also part of this. And as a community, they know their subjects that are bad, that indulge in one form of criminality or the other. So we need to see how to begin to take it from that level, that local level.
But Dr. Steve, what does the statement of the DSSDG, what does it do to the confidence that Nigerians have on Nigeria's security apparatus, one that is already gradually failing and getting broken by the day? And now we hear somebody as highly placed as that telling Nigerians that, you know what, we can't be everywhere all at the same time, so we can't guarantee the protection of lives and property of everybody.
For me, that statement is uncalled for, right? Yeah. To make it that public, it has, for me, reduced or dampened the hope of citizens of this country when it has to do with their security. Coming from the head of such an agency that is saddled with the responsibility of domestic intelligence.
Yes.
Right.
That is supposed to be everywhere at the same time.
Yes. So, for me, that's such a comment coming from the TG of TSS. I think for me, I don't want to say that he had given up on the insecurity issues or in tackling the insecurity issues in the country, right? He would have professionally made a statement of hope, because as long as we keep living on this planet Earth, we'll keep hoping for the best.
True.
Right? So he would have, as a thoroughbred professional, there was a way he would have gone about it, you know. But releasing,
rather than blatantly telling people that we can't protect you.
I had an interaction with a retired army general. He told me that a country that the government is working, that statement coming from the DG is enough to relieve him of his job. Seriously.
Yes.
Yes. That's what he told me. And I want to agree with him. You know, because it's a responsibility. You see, I keep saying it. Governance, security, provision and all that, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
If we really want to end this thing, there's a way and manner we'll go about it. Now, I know that any agency of government or anybody, highly placed individual that wants to see how to stop the way of the Nigerian Forest Security Service coming on board, then the person does not mean well for this country.
And probably needs to be probed.
Exactly, because there's already a gap, you understand, in our security issues. There's already a gap. How do we close that gap? When the Osama bin Laden struck in the U.S. in 2001 or something.
2001, yes.
George W. Bush was president then. He didn't say, no, We have the FBI, we have the secret agent, we have the CIA and the likes. But he said, no, we must see that we bring up a structure that they are
counter-terrorism.
Exactly. And that was what gave rise or gave birth to the Homeland Security. So we have established a gap here in this country when it has to do with our security issues. This one is peculiar to us. We don't have security presence in our local communities. How do we now have security presence? We should be thinking in that direction. Are we all thinking in that direction? The president in his manifesto has what it contains as one of the reasons or part of the reasons or means he wants to tackle insecurity in the country. He talked about national forest guards in his manifesto. I went through his manifesto. So how will he now establish that if he doesn't think or tinker when it has to do with the establishment of Nigerian Forest Security Service? We also have the vigilante,
yes,
right? Now,
I mean, the Nigeria Forest Security Service could also double as the forest guards in the country at the moment.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just for you to clearly tell them this is your mandate. Just the way you have the immigration has their mandate not to allow foreigners come into the country. The custom has the mandate of not allowing contrabands come into the country, yeah, and all that. The Forest Security Service will also have their mandate clearly spelled. We have the civil defense. Theirs is to protect critical government infrastructure. The Forest Security Service was okay. Yours is to provide local security, our forests, and in our very rural communities that we have.
Much like the DSS and the NIA have
international and domestic intelligence.
Yeah.
That's it. Their mandates should be clearly spelled, right? Where you need collaboration, right? Yes. Synergy, you must bring that on board. And I think with that, let us start something. We are looking for solutions. And just the way I said, when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's only the mad person that does that. You are not getting results and you keep doing that. Bokos was struck. The IGP deployed squads there. That's a temporary measure.
Basa got struck again.
Got struck again. You are going to deploy same tactics, same strategy. We need to change. How do we change? Let us think of how else we can go in tackling these issues. We need to think outside the box. You have governors of state, you have special advisors on security to them. They were appointed based on their wealth of experience, yeah, if I must say. How well are they bringing those experiences on board when it has to do with these issues?
Are they allowed to function?
Yes. Now, we have the National Security Advisor as well. Has the National Security Advisor in any way called for a meeting between him and the state special advisors to the governor on security?
All across the 36 states.
Yes.
The security advisor you just mentioned now recently mentioned that security in the country had improved by up to 90%. I don't know how he came about his indices or the statistics. We're not privy to that information, but we know that with recent happenings and recent killings, I don't think 90% is a good figure to peg at the success rate of the security situation in the country.
As a researcher, you also as a journalist,
yes,
I think it behoves on us to find out. We can work on it and find out if he's truly telling Nigerians that...
and how he came about.
Exactly. 90%? Is that not too much?
90% is too much with the realities on ground.
Exactly. So we shouldn't be making statements because we occupy certain office just to say how to protect our job. You see, the reality is staring at us. Right? Yes. When we own up to our issues, when we own up to our challenges, then it calls for concern how to begin to see how to address it. So I'm pretty sure that some couple of days ago, the director of administration at the APC National Secretariat, yes, was kidnapped. 50 million naira was paid, and he was still killed. Now, I'm pretty sure that such a man, just to see how to defend his party, must have said one or two things somewhere to say, the government is working, their security is improving, and all that.
People are no longer kidnapped and killed.
He fell a victim, and he's been killed. So when these issues are on ground, there's nothing wrong with us accepting that this is a challenge. What do we need to do? How do we need to improve on the issue?
Yeah.
Not coming to make statements that up to 90%. As I speak to it, there are citizens of this country that are in captivity. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 year, 2 years.
General Siga, who was recently released from captivity alongside other people who had been kidnapped, the ex-NYSC DG. I just want you to clarify on this matter because it has been on my mind for a while. When he was released and the Chief of Defense Staff handed him over to the National Security Advisor, I believe that was what happened. It was during that handover that the National Security Advisor Malam Noor Rubado mentioned the 90% success rate in security, whatnot in the country. Now, there was a Facebook post that surfaced shortly after the release of the general, thanking his former colleagues, thanking family and friends, also thanking the Chief of Defense Staff and the National Security Advisor for a collective effort and contributions, both in action and in monetary support for his release, which connoted that a ransom might have been paid.
Ransom was paid.
The Chief of Defense Staff came out to state that there was no ransom paid.
Ransom was paid.
So why is the CDS and why is the Defense Headquarters telling us otherwise?
Now, unfortunately for me, there wouldn't have been that ceremony of televising those victims that were released alongside the general. There was no need for that. You are showing them on TV. What are you trying to tell the citizens of the country that you have made some success?
Perhaps even indirectly still informing the kidnappers that, oh, your victims are going back home. You can go back and attack them.
Let me tell you something. I did my Ph.D. thesis on kidnapping for ransom.
Yeah.
I met victims as well as kidnappers during my research work. 60 million naira was paid for the general.
Yes.
The bandits or the kidnappers now told the family that 60 million naira was for feeding. They now went ahead to ask for 200,000 naira worth of recharge card, Airtel, right? And an additional 5 million naira and all that. Now, let me tell you here, there's a difference between release and rescue.
And there was a phone number that was being used to communicate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bandits or kidnappers use most times the victim's phone.
Was the 60 million naira paid in cash or was it via bank transfer?
Cash. They are also aware that when you make this transfer, they can be caught. So no matter the amount they demand, you either bring it in either hard currency or in naira. We have seen videos on the social media where kidnappers or bandits share this ransom amongst themselves. The video is there.
On TikTok?
Yes.
On TikTok.
Yes. Now, you have the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. We have service providers here, MTN, Glo, and the others. How do these videos come to the social media platform? Are we harnessing the use of sophisticated or modern technology when it has to do with tracing how these videos come? Which line? Was it through MTN or Glo or 9 Mobile? I think that there are a lot of people out there that are being paid with taxpayers' money and they're not doing the job. They're not doing the job. Because if they are doing the job, we should be able to establish where these videos are coming from. Who did the videoing or recording? Who posted it? The first
and it can be tracked down to the first person who posted it.
Absolutely, with the use of the technology that we have now. And when I say fighting insecurity is not a cheap business. It requires a lot of money. And Nigeria has the money.
And we are spending the money.
Now, is it that we are genuinely and judiciously spending the money, or the money is going into people's pocket? These are questions that we need to ask, and we need answers for it. Now, the current budget of 2025, security has the highest. How well do we implement this budget? The percentage. I am aware that we don't probe security expenditure. So since we don't probe security expenditure, then there's a problem. Because we need to know whether these monies are used for the purpose or they are used otherwise.
Is there a reason why there is no probe to security expenditure in the country?
It has become a norm or a practice right from the military days to date that security expenditure are not supposed to be approved. But as a professional, I feel that it's abnormal. Because in this part of the world, we see people that are in service become multi-millionaires.
Billionaires. Sir.
Billionaires. While serving.
Owning multiple properties all across the country, and even outside of Nigeria.
Where are these monies coming from? But outside the shores of this country, in the US and the other sane societies, they don't make money while in service. They make money after retiring, and they become consultants, security consultants, military consultants to the state.
Yes.
That's when they make more money. But here, they make more money while in service. And you say we should not check the books or the records when it has to do with security expenditure? I think we need to see how to
rejig the entire system.
We need to rejig the entire system. A serious government must go back to the drawing board and see that the appropriate thing is done. We shouldn't begin to say, what do you call that in Nigerian...
national cake? Or?
No, not national cake. You know, there's this carefree attitude when it has to do with issues bordering on...
Niger?
You know? No. We're talking about lives of people, properties of people. Look at Bruno. There's a resurgence of Boko Haram. Lakurawa terrorist group inducing youths of communities in those areas, luring them into their fold, giving them 1 million naira to come join them. There's a lot that we need to do as a government and as a country.
This issue that you have raised now, Dr. Steve, is similar to the way Boko Haram started in 2009. Mm-hmm. It started gradually, and then we saw, forceful recruitments taking place.
Yes.
And then beyond forceful recruitments, we saw recruitments done via enticing means, monetary enticing means, where people are given amounts of money. Oh, come join us. Come join us, you will make more money and whatnot. And we're seeing a replica of that happening in the northwestern part of the country, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Katsina, Kebbi, and the rest. The Lakurawa terror group is now carrying out the same activities that Boko Haram carried out at the inception of the insurgency. Is it safe to go beyond tagging or terming these people as bandits and calling them what they are, terrorists?
You see,
and acting and dealing with them decisively as well.
Now, every group of criminals have their modus operandi.
Yeah.
A terrorist carries out acts of suicide bombing.
Yes.
Right. IEDs, landmines, and all that. And they are driven based on ideology.
True.
But a bandit, for instance, come kill people,
run back into the bush.
At some point in time, you begin to ask, what's their intention? But I want to categorize them, all of them, as criminals. They are criminals. Now, kidnappers kidnap for ransom. Bandits also kidnap for ransom. Yes. Bandits come hold a whole community hostage. Then there's this crowdfunding. Hundreds of millions of naira are paid to these bandits. And they will now let them go or free the community.
Yes.
Terrorists also kidnap for ransom. Right? Armed robbers have left robbery because they know it's more risky to be on the road,
and it's not as profitable
as it used to be,
because people don't
banking
carry
technology. They don't carry cash along, so they have now shifted their trade or business line of business to kidnapping. If they get you, no matter the amount you have in the bank, you must pull them out, and
possibly ask for more, much like the
Siga. Yes. Now they need all these resources of money to sustain themselves. And also to expand their network. That's what they're doing. And in this country, we saw a kidnapper from Taraba that was sentenced to jail for 7 years. Of course, you know how they count the prison sentence.
Yes.
He spent 3.5 years, came out.
Because he had been on trial for 3.5.
Yes. He went back to his community in Taraba. Did you see the rousing welcome that his community gave to him? They went to the boundary between his community and the community he was coming in from, received him. From there, they rode on bikes, displaying and all that. And he went to the palace of his traditional ruler to pay homage.
For a kidnapper?
A kidnapper that was released. And all this happened in a country and nothing was done. The traditional ruler is still there. And we have youths in this community that see him now as a mentor.
Or as a role model.
As a role model. The question is, wherein lies our value system now? What has eroded our value system? Parents, communities protect their wards or children that indulge in acts of criminality. When I was growing up, back in the days in Boko, there's this lawyer that his son was an armed robber.
Yes.
The police were looking for him. Each time the son comes back after a month or so, he sneaks into his house. The man will take his phone, call the police.
That he is here.
That he's here. How many parents will do that now? The police came, arrested the son. The rest is history. How many parents will do that now? We see parents shielding their children. A boy that is involved in Yahoo, a 200 level student in one university in Imo State, building a mall. His father goes to sit down there to supervise the building of the mall. Or
even building a house in the village or buying cars for his parents when there is no visible means of income. That's,
exactly.
People
parents don't ask questions anymore. Why should we now reduce our society to that kind of level? Is it poverty that is causing that?
And now these are things that all encompass the entire insecurity capsule that we are talking about at the moment. But in going forward, what can be done by individuals? The DSS-DG has told Nigerians to protect themselves, but we know that Nigerians cannot easily own arms. But if Nigerians were to protect themselves, as suggested by the DG, what can be done beyond waiting for government security agencies to do the protecting?
The DSS-DG said it. He said it when he made the statement that when he was director of director of DSS in Bauchi State, where he served.
Yeah.
The Azare community and one other community, terrorists came there, and the members of the community were armed. They confronted the terrorists,
yes,
killed some of them. I think he even gave one analysis where he said one of the terrorists even climbed a tree, and he was there until the members of the community also killed them. Why he said that was that since that day, there was no terrorist activity
in that community.
Yeah. And that is why he is suggesting that communities also protect themselves. But I think that he didn't look at
the climate?
No, not climate. The danger,
yes,
that will come when communities that we have across Nigeria bear arms without monitoring, without coordination, without control.
Yeah.
The effect that it will cause. For me, it will cause more problem. Right. Just the way I said, we already have well over 6 million arms.
But are there rules from your perspective as a security expert and a security analyst as well? What are the modalities put in place for the ownership of arms in the country? Are there guidelines enshrined in the Constitution with effect to that?
Yes. If you want to bear arms in Nigeria, currently the government has stopped issuing licenses.
Okay.
Some couple of years ago,
yeah,
they've stopped issuing licenses for private gun ownership.
Yes.
But it doesn't go beyond pump action.
Yeah.
If you really need to bear arms in Nigeria, I think they know the implication of that. The U.S. that have their own laws that at certain age, 18, 21, depending on the state where you come from, you can bear arms. They are seeing the effect of it.
Gun violence.
Gun violence. And their assembly, they are trying to see how to put some regulations. So we shouldn't go into that when we have a case study with regards to the U.S. to learn from.
Yes.
Right. So just the way I said, we must have a structure, a proper organization, right, that can or that should bear arms when it has to do with tackling insecurity locally.
Yes.
And the president, for me, the current National Assembly under the leadership of Senator Godswill Akpabio,
exactly,
saw the essence and the importance of having such an organization, the Nigerian Forest Security Service, come on board so that they can provide security in our very rural communities.
And how is that coming along?
Now, it has passed all the three stages.
The readings.
Yes. It's now left for the president to assent to it. And do you know, it's the current vice president, when he was a senator, that sponsored the bill to establish the Nigerian Forest Security Service. So these personalities, they have seen the essence and the importance why we should have such an organization on board in tackling insecurity. And in doing it, we must go local. We must go local. And we must have such a structure on the ground in tackling this.
Grassroots mobilization and close monitoring to ensure that, you know, the different dynamics of security challenges in different areas are tackled according to what the indigents or the residents of those areas know about it.
Exactly. You know, and you know, we have the other critical stakeholders that are within these our communities. Yeah. The Forest Security Service must work in conjunction with the traditional rulers or clan heads that come from these very rural communities. Now, we must have a first responder.
Yeah.
You know, when it has to do with insecurity. When these bandits or criminals come, who confronts them? Do we confront them with bare hands or batons or sticks? Of course, you know that you can't use that.
Certainly.
You know, so we must have a structure that must be properly armed, more sophisticated than what the bandits are carrying, right? So if we don't do that, then we'll keep turning around. And I will now give the Indian proverb, according to former President Goodluck Jonathan, that it's more difficult to wake somebody that is pretending to sleep.
Yes.
Than to wake somebody that is actually sleeping.
Is actually asleep.
You understand?
well, that's some analogy there, which is true, though.
Yeah.
Because the harder the pretense, the harder it is
exactly.
To wake them up.
Yeah. So we should not pretend that we are not aware of these issues.
Yes.
We should not pretend about it at all.
Well, in closing, Dr. Steve, let me just get your take on one last thing which we had mentioned earlier, but I don't think you gave a clear-cut answer to it.
Okay.
How do we solve the issue of who exactly handles the security apparatus of states in Nigeria? Is it the president or the governors?
I think I did answer in a way. Yes, we know that the federal government is in charge of all our security agencies.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that. Now, I give you an instance where Peter Obi wanted to go visit Benue.
And of course, the governor said he can't guarantee.
The governor stopped him.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about guarantee or something.
The governor
stopped him from coming. And we have seen governors of states exercising some powers. Right.
Yes.
And that is why I am against state police. Right. Because I feel that we are not even prepared as leaders to even handle issues when it has to do with state police.
Yes.
The states are not even viable enough. How much can they pay when the federal government is still battling with funding the federal police in the area of logistics, equipment, training, and others? Now, I said it here that the governors has powers to call state security meeting. And in that security meeting, all heads of security agencies are part of the meeting Just the way the president calls federal security meeting, or service chiefs and the other heads of security agencies are also part of the meeting.
Yes.
So everybody has his own powers at the level that they operate. When I hear that the governor cannot tell, if a community is confronted or being attacked, and the governor draws the attention of the commissioner of police to the community,
yes,
you think the commissioner of police will just sit idle, put his hand in between his legs and say, no, I won't go there? It is already the responsibility of the commissioner to provide security as commissioner of the state. What's the essence of being a commissioner at the state? Prevention and detection. So it is not until the governor calls the attention of the commissioner of police.
They should be proactive.
They should be proactive. He already knows why he's there as commissioner of police.
And he doesn't need to be puppeted around as if he doesn't know his job.
Why? The IGP believes in the capacity and capability of police officers that he sends or deploys to states.
Yes.
So when you are there and you are failing in your responsibility as commissioner of police, there's need for you to be fired.
Well, a very strong and stern command there, Dr. Steve, but we must thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this conversation. Hopefully, these resolutions meet listening ears and actions, proactive actions are taken.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that has been Dr. Steve Obochi Okwori, who is a security and crime management strategist and a fellow of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, lending his thoughts with us on the security situation in the country and ways of ending the insecurity that continues to ravage parts of the northwestern part of the country, the northeast, and most recently Plateau and Benue states.